YouTube fans. It's well after midnight. And oh boy, do I need a midnight snack. After 1 a.m., in fact, it's 10 minutes until 2 a.m., 1:50 a.m. A nice hot dog. Mmm. 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 See, I've already taken the first bite of it. Mmm. Mmm. This is a Kroger beef brisket flavored hot dog with good old fashioned French's mustard. Oh. Oh. And let me tell you, this Popwell is cherry citrus. Good stuff. Good stuff. Mm-mm. One more bite. Mm-mm. Hi, Kitty. You really liked the smell of that hot dog, didn't you? I can tell by the way your ears are perked forward. Yeah, you're on YouTube. Did you know that? You're on YouTube. Well, the other purpose of this vlog is about an unfinished story idea that I have been thinking about for quite some time. Probably at least 3 years. And this one is going to be quite dramatic. It's about a woman named Tiffany Anna Kenward, or Kenward. She was originally born Tiffany Anna Westford, but she was not born where the main part of the story is, the main plot of the story is about. She wasn't born in Malibu, California. She was actually born in ILLIOPOLIS, in Illinois. Let me say that again. ILLIOPOLIS, Illinois. And she was there until she was 15 years old. So why don't I go ahead and just read what little I've typed, because it's that small. Okay, I'll begin. Tiffany Anna Kenward owns a nice house located on a beachfront property that is geographically located on the 195 block of the Pacific Coast Highway. The home Tiffany owns is a really cute cottage-style house and is small in square footage. A single-family dwelling that has only one bedroom, a small living room, a tiny kitchen, and a small private bathroom. Barely big enough for one person. The square footage of the home is only 589 square feet. Because for a single family home, that's pretty small. There is a meager front yard that is smaller than the average postage stamp yard. There is no sod grass, and there is limited foliage. 10 feet away from her home is a large royal palm tree that must be over 50 feet tall. In all actuality, Tiffany's birth name was Tiffany Anna Westford. She was not born in Malibu, California. She was born in, and I'm repeating this for the third time, ILLIOPOLIS, Indiana. She lived there until she was 15 years old, and then her parents moved to Martinez, Northern California. Her parents were interesting people. Her father was a CPA for a manufacturing company in Decatur, Illinois, because I think Decatur, Illinois is close to ILLIOPOLIS, a small town in Illinois. And he was making big bucks, and then as a CPA, and then to make bigger bucks, to work for a plush CPA firm. He moved to Martinez, Northern California. And what happened was she stayed there until from age 15 until she was about 21. And she saved up enough money, and she moved out on her own. And I believe she moved further inland, away from the coastline, the coastal area of Southern California. And one of her first jobs was working for a company. She was a receptionist for a company that rented lots of sailboats, yachts, rafters, and small fishing-like boats. But you couldn't do any fishing. It was just strictly for driving around. And it had one of those little fisherman's boat motors that was only about 3 to 5 horsepower. Okay, so when she was 25, when she was 25 in 2005, I believe her birthday would have been May 15th, 2025, meaning she was born on May 15th, 1980 in ILLIOPOLIS, or a hospital near ILLIOPOLIS, Illinois. And she was a rather small baby. There was nothing wrong with her. She was only about 5.9 pounds. There's nothing wrong with that. That's normal, especially for females. She's about 5.9, 5.10 pounds. And she had She had little streaks where it was reddish brown hair. And anyways, in 2005, there was a man named Joshua. He didn't like to be called Josh. It was Joshua. Joshua Kenward. And he had a rather corny middle name. That was the same as a former district attorney who tried to get an indictment against Clay Shaw for being in conspiracy with assassinating President John F. Kennedy. I'm referring to Jim Garrison. So Joshua Kenward's middle name was Garrison, not Gary, Garrison. Yep. Joshua Garrison Kenward. He was about 31, so that means he was born about 1974, roughly. He'd be about close to my age. He'd only be a year younger than me. And he was really handsome. He had blonde hair. He sometimes had a little bit of a mustache, a little mustache, not one of those long ones, not one of those flashy ones. And he always wore a suit and a dress shirt and dress pants and really nice dress shoes. And just a second. Okay, I'm back. Had to do some camera adjustments and shut off the hotspot signal, which I forgot to do. Oh, excuse me. So back to the story. She really was attracted to this guy, and they really started dating. And even though he made sure to, put on a condom when they would do it either at her nice little apartment that was at least 5 miles from the ocean, or they would do it at or at his place, which was about 3.5 miles from the ocean. She lived here and he lived about over there in proximities. Okay. So, and it was somewhere in LA Metro. And well, after dating for a little more than a year, he got on his knees when they were having a really nice dinner that was brought in, that was delivered by a nice seafood restaurant. I mean, it wasn't just surf and turf. It was good lobster and white wine, and these biscuits that would be better than what you would get at Red Lobster. Yes. I mean, the restaurant has such a secret recipe, they wouldn't tell nobody. Yeah. And they got married in, I believe, late 2006, around November, approximately. And he was making pretty big bucks in real estate. And they had a very nice house located in Hollywood Hills, Los Angeles. Hollywood Hills. A house that would be worth at least $1.6 million. It was a 6-bedroom, 7-bathroom home. And it had a big kitchen upstairs, and it had a smaller kitchen downstairs in the basement. And it had a really nice swimming pool that was huge. And there was also a hot tub near the pool. And after they were married, for about 3 years, he took a wrong turn. Yep. He was doing too much of this. Cocaine. Yes. Excuse me. Okay, a certain day in June of 2009, this was 2 months after a woman who was born Marilyn Briggs or Marilyn Taylor, who actually became Marilyn Chambers, a porno actress, died in her trailer park because she had a major stroke and a cerebral hemorrhage, or a aortic or a cerebral aneurysm. Yes, because see, the situation, even though this is a little off the subject, the situation as to what happened with Marilyn Chambers was she stopped doing the coke and she stopped doing the pills, but she was smoking cigarettes fairly heavily, and she was taking heart medication. I think it was Annex or something like that, and an antidepressant, and she was drinking pretty. She was an alcoholic. She was unfortunately practicing alcoholic. I mean, she wasn't drunk all the time, but she was drinking pretty heavy. And she died somewhere between 6 and 8 p.m. in April. Okay, so here's what's going on with Joshua. The two of them just left a nice wedding party, or no, a wedding reception, after a good friend of his had been married. And somewhere around 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night they leave, and he had snuck into the bathroom, and he had snorted way too much coke. I mean, he was high as a frickin' kite. And she tried to reason with him, and he's just like, okay, I'll stop, I gotta get home. And he's driving faster and faster, and he's like, no, I really don't feel good. Oh my God, my heart's really pounding. I got to get home. And he's driving really fast, and he's driving faster and faster and faster, and he makes all these twists and turns, and then what happens is there's this road that's curved like this, and he spins out of control, and he slams into a hill that had like a thick rock on it. I mean, he slammed. I mean, the front of the car just went boom right in there really hard, because he lost control of what he was doing, because he couldn't drive very well because he was so intoxicated on the coke. And what happens is he hits the car, and the car doesn't go down a mountain or down a deep hill, but it rolls into a field. And she is really scared. She peed her pants, and he's dead. And she reaches over and gets his cell phone out of his suit coat, and she calls 911 right away, and they come over right away, and they get a specialty crew to bust open the doors so they can get the two of them out. And I mean, she's really shook up. She's really crying. She's shaking. She's not super drunk, but she had at least 3 glasses of wine. She was probably legally drunk, but she wasn't like super drunk. And she didn't do any driving, and she wasn't charged. But she stayed in the hospital overnight, and she was given a sedative. And then she was feeling quite sad. She goes for the funeral. And then what happens is that really nice house is sold, and she picks up an apartment about a little over a mile away. It's in Malibu, and it's just it's a fairly large 1,000 square foot 1-bedroom 1-bathroom apartment until the estate is settled, and the insurance company gives her a pretty large sum of money. I mean, with the sale of the house and what was left over after the sale of the house, after they did some fix-up, a little bit of fix-up inside the house, and some other things, she has over $2 million to her name. What she does is there is a small house, after she spent over 6 months looking for it, that is on the 190, excuse me, the 100, again, oh goodness, the 195 block of Pacific Coast Highway. And she buys it outright. The house was only worth, because it was so small, $622 $622,114 and change. And she buys it outright through what's called a money transfer. And plus she had to add in another $15,000 for closing costs. Yeah. So she moves in, and she gets to the point where all this is settled, and she doesn't know what to do with her life. And she kind of becomes reclusive. She doesn't leave the house much. She dresses in sweatpants and a t-shirt and a nice bandana wrapped around her head like a jogger, a lady who does jogging. And she doesn't eat much. And then by, let's see, around July 18th of 2010, she ate a little bit of breakfast, and then she really gets into a crying. She starts crying so hard that she's just leaning up against leaning over a kitchen countertop near the sink like this, and she's just going, and then she gets nauseous. But see, she had her stomach was empty, and she starts coughing, going like that, over and over and over again. Well, A man who is next door takes his dog and starts walking his dog. He doesn't knock on the door and try to politely confront her. But what he does do is, after he's done walking his dog, and he can hear her yelling, "No, no, why me, why me, why me, oh, and saying some cuss words. He calls he calls the police. And what the police do, because she's got a landline that's working fine and she's got a good cell phone, it would be probably one of the earlier iPhones. And the police call the landline, and the woman who calls has a very kind voice, and she knows not to get tough and talk really forcibly to a woman. She's very good at dealing with women. And the phone rings for about 11 rings, and finally she picks up the phone, and there's no dial tone, and then she hangs it up. And 15 seconds later, the phone rings. She lets it ring for 3 rings, and she picks up. She goes, "Hello, hello," and it's a woman named Deborah, who is a sergeant. She's not a field patrol woman. She stays inside there, and she only does patrolwoman or patrolman work when they really need it. And she says, "Miss Kenward?" And she says, "Yes, this is Tiffany, Anna Kenward." And she says, "Yes, who is this? Who is this?" And she says, "This is Sergeant," I'm not going to say the last name, of, I believe it would be Malibu Police or LA County Sheriffs, one of the two. Because you see, there's LAPD, and I think because she lives in Malibu, there might be a Malibu police department that makes sure to do things the way LAPD wants things done. I mean, I don't know that for sure. That's just a hunch I have. And she, the sergeant says, we have a report, and we must make this phone call as a welfare check, that you were crying and you were making sounds like you were vomiting, regurgitating. And ma'am, I must have to tell you this. By the way you're talking to me, I can tell you're deeply depressed and you're emotionally, you have mental health issues. And she says, Tiffany says, "Well, are you going to place me under arrest?" "No, Miss Kenward, we're not going to do that with you. What we would like to do, and what we must do, is we are going to send an ambulance, and they're going to come pick you up, and they're going to take you to a nearby hospital that is within 2.15 miles away from your residency on Pacific Coast Highway, Malibu, California." And she says, and Tiffany says, "Oh no, I don't want to do this. Please don't do this to me." And Deborah actually the sergeant's name is first name is Deborah. And she says, Deborah says, "Tiffany," and you can call me Deborah because that's my first name, "I want to help you, because with your health problem that you have and your mental health problem, you need to be checked out by the emergency room, and you're going to be taken care of privately, and no one will know that you were there. And you will most likely be given some medications, and then you will be released. You're not going to be forced into a mental care facility or mental institution. And I can tell by the way you're breathing that not only are you stressed out and feeling fearful, I can also tell by the way you're breathing, I can actually hear your heart pounding. You're probably suffering from hypertension, high blood pressure. And she says, "Why are you saying this to me?" "Tiffany, I'm just doing my job." That's what Deborah said. "I have to do this. Please let an ambulance come to your front door and we will take you away." And she's like, "Well, I don't want to have to get into a lady's gown and be strapped down in a stretcher." And then Deborah says, Tiffany, please, calm down. We're not going to do that to you. We're going to have an ambulance come get you, and they're going to have you lay down on a stretcher, and they're going to take you to the emergency room, and you will be able to stay dressed as you are. And then Tiffany says, "Well, I don't have very good health insurance. Even though I've got decent money, I don't want to have to pay over $4,000 for an emergency room visit." And the insurance starts going, and then Deborah says, Tiffany, listen to me, because what I'm going to say is a great benefit to you. You will not have to pay any money out of pocket for this welfare check. The city of Malibu and Los Angeles County will cover this. The only thing you would have to pay for is a refill on prescription medications that you would have to do a refill on. That we don't cover. But the ambulance ride and the medical treatment that you get in the emergency room, you're not going to be charged $1. And here's another thing we will do for you that we will be happy to do for you. We will be happy to let you call a friend, or we will pay for a taxi ride back to your nice home. Are you? Can I count on? And then Deborah says this to Tiffany: "Can I count on you to allow me to place you on hold and call emergency technician services and take care of this for you, so that the ambulance will be there in about 3 to 5 minutes? Will you please do that? Will you please let me do that? Can I count on your cooperation?" Okay. All right, I'll do it. I'm tired of you being depressed. This will be for my own good. And then Deborah says, "Okay, please hold." and she's on hold, and then she stands up straight and she looks around like this. And she can see the ocean, even though it's starting to get a little darker outside. I think about the time that this call would be, this situation would occur, it'd be roughly a little after 6 p.m. So therefore I would assume, I could be wrong, that the sun's starting to go down. It's not nighttime yet, but it's getting close. And then what she does is she waits for about 4 minutes, and then Deborah says, "Okay, Tiffany, the ambulance will come and knock on your door. They won't bust the door down. When they knock on the door, please answer it right away. Okay? They're going to be there in about 2 to 3 minutes. Please be ready. Please be prepared to leave. Grab your purse or grab any personal items. Okay? I have to go now. Good luck to you. Thank you." And the phone ends, and then she hangs up the phone, and then she just is like, and she's like, "Please, dear Lord Jesus, help me with this. Help me." This is quite a challenging experience. And she finds her purse, and she finds some ladies' underwear and some socks. And when she is heading towards her bedroom, she hears on her door. And she goes over to the front door, and the ambulance is parked close to her door, but not too close. And there's a nice female paramedic and a nice male paramedic. And they say, "Tiffany, we know you've been under quite a lot of emotional stress, and you likely suffer from hypertension. Please, we'll help you get into the ambulance." And she's like, "But wait a minute, I want to grab an extra change of clothes." Just a minute. So what they do is the female thing gets on the little talkie, or the portable radio that would be used for communication purposes, and she says, "Okay, I'll have to escort you, assist you in going to your bedroom." And then she goes in there, and she grabs a shirt and a pair of nice denim jeans, and she puts them in a duffel bag, a small duffel bag. And she says, "Okay, let's go." She says, "Very good." This is what the female paramedic says. And then the paramedic has her lay down, and she says, "Okay, I know you are going to lay still, but we have to do this because it's policy. I have to strap you down around your waist. It's a federal safety procedure. We have to do it. We have to do it." So she says, "Okay." And she lays down, and she just tries to not get really stressed out and worked up. And then they get to the emergency room, and there are two. I think one will be a clinical person. These are female employees. One would be a clinical person. The other one would be a charge nurse. And they ask her some personal questions about toilet habits, use of alcohol, digestive problems, flu, certain types of illnesses, and has she tried to commit suicide? I mean, they really ask a lot of personal things they have to ask. It's their job, because if they don't ask it, they're doing something that is a serious act of insubordination and gross negligence. And then what happens is they said, okay, here's what I'm going to do to help you. I'm going to give you a couple of tablets. I'm not going to say the name. They're these little pills that are about this big around, about as big around as my pinky. That would be sedatives. And they give her two mild sedatives, and then she presses. This is Tiffany. Tiffany presses the button. She goes, "Nurse, nurse," and a male nurse comes in, and she says to him, "Please, please, please, can I have something to eat? I'm really hungry. My stomach's really growling. I feel a little bit nauseous." And he says, "Okay, I'm gonna have to talk to the charge nurse. Just a minute." And she talks to the charge nurse. The charge nurse comes in within less than a minute, and she shows her a menu that would be lasagna with spinach, a nice, I think it would be a dinner salad with lettuce, or romaine lettuce, little bits of beets, a few shredded carrots, and those little tomatoes that are about this big around. And she decides on the lasagna with spinach, and she asks for decaffeinated coffee and coffee cream and a choice of sugar, sweet and low, or I think it's called Splendia or Splenda sweetener. And it takes about 10 minutes to get to her, but they bring it in, and then they let her eat it. And after she's done eating, a charge nurse comes in and says, "Okay, now that you're done eating, I know this is going to feel unpleasant, but we have to. You have to put your arm out like this, and we're going to have to do a blood test." I was like, "Oh no!" And she says, "No, I know it's going to have an uncomfortable feeling." And the girl, and she does what she's supposed to do. She makes a fist like this, and then she just they draw the blood. Yeah. And even though she has some tears in her eyes, I mean, it pinches at first, but then when they take it out, she kind of starts feeling happy. She's like, "Wow. Why does something so unpleasant make me feel good after it's done? Huh. That's a good feeling, but why do I feel that?" And then what happens is a doctor who's well dressed has to come in and asks her to drop her pants. You see, they have to do a vaginal swab because, one, they want to make sure that they want to do a test to see if she's pregnant, and two, they want to make sure that she does not have any sexually transmitted diseases. They have to do this. And then what happens is a different, one male doctor and one female doctor come in, and the female doctor is the one who did the vaginal swab. You know, the woman who has a degree in gynecology. And the male doctor is a ER doctor who has a lot of expertise in hypertension. And she says her piece and says, you do not have any sexually transmitted diseases, and you're not pregnant, so you've been taking very good care of yourself. And then she asks, again, some personal questions about her sexual habits. She has to do that. And then the doctor gives her some information about, because they had her hooked up to a blood pressure. They did about 3 or 4 different blood pressure tests on her. She says, yes, you clearly suffer from hypertension. And, well, normally I wouldn't disclose this information. But for this time, we'll make an exception. They say that the doctor, the male doctor who is a hypertension specialist, says that he's going to write a script for her to get lisinopril 10 milligrams, and that will take care of the problem. And he also states that her blood is low in cholesterol. Low. Yeah. So he says that he's going to print out a special diet because she needs to eat more, meats and certain other foods for breakfast and for lunch. And then what happens is they give her 1 tablet of the 10 milligrams of lisinopril, and they give her 1 tablet of I think it might be either Lipitor or Crestal or Rosuvastatin. It's to help with cholesterol control. Or they would give her something that I can't mention that raises the cholesterol level, the cholesterol balance or whatever, just a little bit. And then they do another blood test on her, and they take her blood pressure at least 2 more times. And then what happens is they say, the male doctor comes in this time, alone, without the female doctor, female gynecologist doctor. And he says, he gives her, I think it would be a antidepressant called duloxetine or something like that. He gives her one of those. And then he asks her to do a urine test. And she goes into a private bathroom and into a special little beaker or cup. It's about like this size. That big around and about that high. And then about an hour later, they say that the results of the urine test were good. and that she does not show any signs of diabetes, and that her blood sugar is a little bit low. It's because she wasn't eating very much, is why this is happening. Same with the issue about the cholesterol being low. So he talks with her some more, and then he says, okay, you've been here for over 3 hours, and I think you would like to go home by now, right? She says, yes, I would. I really would. And what she does is, or what they do is, the taxi service at this time is, she's going to have to wait over 45 minutes for the next taxi, because this was pre-Uber days, you see. So a policewoman, because it's slow in crime and things are slow that night, a policewoman escorts her home, gives her an escort ride back home. And she goes into the kitchen. She didn't have much groceries left, but she has about 3 eggs. She makes 2 eggs, and she has about 3 strips of bacon. She makes 1 strip of bacon because she's hungry. And she eats that, and she gives the dietary thing that the doctor gave her, the male doctor. And she goes to sleep, and she wakes up the next day around 8:30 a.m. after sleeping only 7 hours. And she feels so much better. She feels happy. She loves just laying there, listening to the ocean. You know, the ocean tide's coming, and I think will be seagulls flying around. And occasionally she hears a dog go roof, roof, roof. And occasionally, and she hears cars driving by. She loves it. And she overcomes her depression, and she starts seeing not a psychologist, a psychiatrist. A nice male psychiatrist. And she also, after about 2 weeks, she starts attending a good Protestant church that is only 3 miles away, because you see, she has a good car. She has a nice 2010 Lexus. Yep. That is nice silver in color. Yep. Well, I think that's about it for this unfinished story idea. And before I go, this is the best sketch that I could get free of charge that is public domain. That's approximately what she would look like. She'd have blonde hair, or like blonde. She'd have kind of blondish. No, actually not blonde. I take it back. Reddish brown hair. Nice reddish brown hair. Well, that is it for now. Thank you, everybody. I hope this story was good. And thank you for all those subscribers I got. Thanks a lot, and goodbye.